Hello and welcome this lovely Thursday morning to Market Insight. I am Lavina Emma. Yes, it's another Thursday where we get to talk about the economy in Nigeria and where we get to talk about how the current inflation is affecting everything. So I'm quite sure we have been comparing prices in the country starting from 2020 till date. So over the past 4 years, there has been a leap in the price of imported food items. And according to the National Bureau of Statistics, the price of imported food items has been increasing since 2020 till date. Now, the prices paid by consumers, especially in the urban areas, has increased by 105.03%. Now, that's quite high. That's double increase, actually. And consumers in the city depend on these imported food items for breakfast, for lunch, such as our cereals, sausages, jam, butter, coffee, fruits like strawberries, apples, coffee. I mean, we use these imported food items all the time. Now, this inflation has strained a lot of households and has affected their budgets. These days, people have to decide if they truly need to buy things like coffee, if they need to actually take strawberry again with their ice creams. People have to really readjust their budgets because this increase has gone on for far too long. So in January 2024, as we all know, the food inflation has increased to 35.41%. And these are serious challenges that are faced by Nigerian consumers. So on today's show, we will discuss the effects of the high price of imported food items and solutions to these situations. Joining me in this discussion is also a farmer. His name is Mr. Dahiru Ibrahim Kwaru. He is an all-season farmer in crops such as maize, sorghum, rice and groundnuts, actually, and he's also a principal investor. So he's going to join me to discuss why the prices of imported food items have increased over the past 4 years, not just a singular increase. This is a double-digit increase, actually. So we're going to be discussing it via Zoom. So welcome to the show, Mr. Dahiru. Mr. Dahiru, I beg your pardon.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me.
Morning. I'm happy to have you on the show, even if it's via Zoom.
Okay. Thank you very much. A point of correction. My designation is Principal Manager Investment, Kano State Investment and Properties Limited.
Thank you for that correction.
Thank you for having me on this show.
Kano State Investment Properties. Welcome to Market Insights, Mr. Dahiru Ibrahim Kwaru.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Yes, so I want us to discuss this recent increase in the prices of imported food items. As you know, most households and most families within the cities actually purchase and consume most imported food items like coffee, strawberry, which is not predominantly grown in Nigeria. That's a fruit, and other types of imported teas and butter, and also cereals. But from 2020 till date, there has been an over 100% increase in the cost of imported food items. Now, what factors do you think would have led to this increase in the cost of imported food items?
Thank you very much for this question. Let me start by saying since 2022, a lot of events happening in the economic policy in Nigeria. So let me start by saying that there is a COVID-19 and it has come up with its own challenges. And there is attack on this Red Sea. There is a Ukraine, UK, all this war on the side of a European part of this of the world. So all of this in the global perspective is a kind of challenge that's leading to scarcity of food insecurity. And we are having a shortage of food. When we narrow the event coming to Nigeria, a lot of things happening. Let me just start by saying that what I heard yesterday from, according to the Minister of Finance, and coordinating minister of the economy, Mr. Wale, has put this inflation as saying it is as a result of printing too much money for the past previous administration. Thus, over 22 trillion has been printed without, matching with productivity. And that thing is also something that can generate high inflation. Once there is too much money in circulation, so definitely the money will be chasing few goods. So as a result, there is an increase in the price of good and services. So this is by the side when we are talking of the causes of this inflation. We can take this. Secondly, we can take the source of grains. The source of these grains is majorly in this northern part of this country, and we are having a challenge of insecurity. Insecurity is everywhere, ranging from Katsina, Sokoto, Kebbi, all the eastern part of this country, eastern state, northeastern state. So all of them, they are having the issue of insecurity. And that is where we are having major stops such as rice, maize, guinea corn, and other things. So once the farmer cannot go to his farm and farm what is wanted to farm and harvest it easily, so that means there will be a kind of shortage in the food that we can produce. As a result, there will be a shortage in supply. So once the supply is shorted, meaning the price will go up. This is another causes of inflation, to the current inflation that we are seeing. And going to devaluation also is another causes of this inflation. So when we see the naira against foreign currency losing its own value from 2022, as you said, when we are going to put it, because things are happening small by small. As 2022, I think the dollar to naira is somewhere around 400, but now you are talking of 1,400. So meaning the foodstuffs that we are not producing here in Nigeria, we are going to, the business men and women, they are going to source the forex to go abroad and import those foodstuffs. So that means when they import them, they are going to put them at a high price because of the challenge of forex. So this is also another challenge. When we look at the government policy, which is of recent, like 6 months ago, when the current administration come into being into power, there is a removal of subsidy. That one also caused another additional hardship on the masses, because as they remove it, the transport, those grains have to be transported from where they produce to where they need it. So if you transport the goods and services at high price, meaning you are going to put additional cost on those foods items. So as such, there will be an increase in the price of such commodity. So naturally, this is a lot of things happening within 2022 to 2024, as you said. So a lot of things happening that causes this inflation. Because of the time, let me just reduce everything to, well, these are the major things that causes this inflation that we are seeing right now.
For that, Mr. Mr. Dahiru, thank you for that. Yes, I understand what you have said. Yes, we have cited factors like the Russia-Ukraine war and also the attacks on the Red Sea. Yes, we understand all that. But I want to actually ask you this: like, if you were a part of this current government and with this current food inflation that we're facing in the country, is affecting every citizen all over the country. Now, what would you advise or what would you suggest as to ways we can actually address this high cost of imported food items in the country? What measures will you put in place to solve this matter?
Thank you very much. If I were their position, I have, short-term plans and long-term plans. But when I say short-term plans, is to be given a kind of palliatives, to buy, foodstuffs and reduce the price. I'm not in the view of to buy foodstuff and distribute it for free. No. Buy the foodstuff, reduce the price. So when you are selling, other businessmen and women that stock their warehouse with foodstuff, they will naturally reduce the price of those goods. So let me come to the medium and the long-term solution. Is that federal government, as a matter of urgency and it is fact, we have to tackle this insecurity. The insecurity that is happening mostly within where we are sourcing those foodstuffs, and they are largely having insecurity. So federal government, they have to use whatever force to address the insecurity. So no matter what kind of mechanization you are going to employ, if there is no security in that place, nobody can go to the farm and produce anything. So let me come to the other things, which is introduction of modern farming, like what I wanted to say is like here in northern part of the country, we have like maybe 2 to 3 seasons, not only concentrated on wet season, also use dry season. So that means federal government should provide the channels that they can use without the rain, use the channels to produce some of this agricultural product. As such, there will be a high yield of production. But in a year, when you are farming once, that means you won't have as much as you can until when you are farming like 3 times in a year. If you are farming 3 times in a year, definitely you are going to produce much. As such, if I am in their own position, I will have to address this, tackle insecurity, modern science of agricultural mechanization, and what have you. All this I have to provide for the betterment of growth and development of food of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for that, Mr. Dahiru. Yes, I understand what you have said. We have also on this show with past guests, we've discussed this, and yes, implementing more modern farming methods, actually improving on our security. Yes, we have discussed this further, but we actually want to go further by addressing like what are the long-term implications of Nigeria with this current over-reliance on imported foods. I know it's quite common in the urban centers and mostly in cities like Lagos, like Abuja, and if I'm allowed to say also in Port Harcourt too. This over-reliance on imported foods, like I said, we always consume it. Even in high-paying restaurants, we do consume this imported foods actually. So what are the long-term implications of Nigerians' over-reliance on imported foods? Mr. Dahiru?
Yes. So the over-reliance of imported food is make our economy to it make the teeming populace to lose the job. Definitely, when you are importing anything that you are importing from outside, that means you are giving job to outside Nigeria. So if you are producing here in Nigerians, invariably you are giving jobs to the teeming population of Nigeria. So as such, if you wanted to increase
I can't. Okay, yes.
that is the
Yeah,
long.
Mr. Okay, there was a bit of a technical issue there. Yes, Mr. Dahiru, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Lost. I
I
didn't
can hear
hear
you
what
now.
you said for the first few seconds. Could you please repeat that again?
Okay, from the okay, what I'm saying, there is a one. If you wanted to import anything, that means you are giving jobs to people from other country. Any country that we are importing things, that means you are giving job to that country, and you are making your people to be unemployed. So what we want to do now is that even the small farmers, the government have to provide them with a modern equipment, modern machine has to be employed so that our people will produce internally. When they produce internally, the raw material consumed to our factories internally. So that's mean we are giving our people jobs to do. If we are doing this thing, I think in a long time, we are going to be self-sufficient and independently in terms of food security, in terms of employment, in terms of growth and development. This is what I mean by the long term.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Dahiru, yes, I understand. Yes, this our reliance on our own local food production will aid employment in the country, which is something that we're also facing, battling with at the moment. But, you know, looking at the fact that there are so many countries, over 100 countries all over the world, and, you know, as they say, no man is an island. So wouldn't it be better, like, we all need each other? I'm quite sure the food items that are produced in any other African country, it could be Ghana, Kenya, or even in European countries like in the UK, in Russia, or in Germany. We also need to have that let me say that trade deal of that exchange of our food items. So yes, I'm quite sure not over there in Western countries, they might not consume too many of our own food items, but here we do consume a lot of their food items too. So we can't just say let's completely cut off from consuming imported food items. We still need to consume these food items. So all in all, I don't think we should generally cut off. I mean, yes, we will still need to improve on our food production, but we still need to be importing some certain food items which we can't grow naturally here or produce naturally here. I'm just saying that actually because we all need each other in the world. Yes, your thoughts, Mr. Dahiru?
Exactly. I'm not saying to cut everything, but it is a fact that we cannot produce some machines, some spare part. We cannot produce it. But in terms of agricultural products, this is what we are having the strength, and that's where we have to rely on. But anything to do with high tech in technology, like producing cars and spare part and machine, definitely we have to import them from somewhere. But our own, we have to import our own, that is those agricultural products and agricultural products, because those they are unfinished goods. They need raw material, and those raw material is majorly sourced from our own, like sesame seed, maize, and other things. Those things we produce them to export them. When we export them, they will process. finally, and when they become as a finished product, then they will turn it back to Nigeria and add money because of the value chain they added. So what we are supposed to do, we have to create this value chain. We have to work on our value chain of our agricultural product so that we will be putting anything like tomato. If we produce tomato, let us know how to produce it and package it and to finally export it to other countries. Sesame seed, soya beans, all of this, we can go and add, we can also add value on the chain and to produce it. Even if to clean it, to package it, and to export it, at least we are going to have $1 as a revenue, which our CBN will use it to, to disburse to DBC and whoever wanted to go and import something if you are looking for forex. That's what I'm saying.
So we've been discussing this high cost of food items. You've also mentioned how ways we can actually solve it. We need to improve our local food production. So as you know, in January 2020, the cost of imported food items, the inflation rate as at January 2020 was 16.12%. That was the cost for imported food items. And right now, as of January 2024, the rate has moved on to 26.29%. That is quite high over the 4 years right now. So, Hannah, how does this rising cost of imported food items compare to the inflation rate in Nigeria? As you know, overall food inflation rate in Nigeria is over 35%. So, how does it compare, Mr. Dahiru?
Yes, the food inflation has also jumped up consecutively from 26 to current one. I think is 30. Current one is 35%. That is according of statistic. And also, when we are looking at the so when we are looking at this.
Dahiru, can you hear what I am saying? Yeah, because I think there's a bit of a technical issue. I'm not hearing you clearly. Could you please turn on your mic?
It's on.
Now I can hear you. So, okay.
Okay,
Thank you. Yes, okay, I missed a few points when you started answering the question. Could you please start over from the beginning? Yes, I asked about how does the rising cost of imported food items compare to the inflation rate in Nigeria. And I mentioned that in January 2020, the inflation rate for the cost of imported food items was 16.12%. And right now, for the inflation rate for the cost of imported food items as of January 2024 is over 26.29%, which is quite high. And as we know in Nigeria, the overall general food inflation is over 35.41%. So how does the rising cost of imported food items compare to the inflation rate in Nigeria?
So the rising cost of inflation, when you want to compare it with the inflation, is that I told you a lot of things happening. That is talking of depreciation of naira, talking of insecurity, talking of, so largely what is happening, I can term it as what is happening in that process is as a result of a failure of the federal government to meet up with the demand with the forex. Once you wanted to buy anything from the foreign country, you are going to use not our naira, you are to use dollar. So when you when we want to use our dollar, definitely when you want to use dollar, definitely you are going to put your naira and convert it to the dollar. So now the rate is high, and it is the CBN that is pegging the naira against dollar. So now the dollar is now high. So whatever they have bought it from outside, one is come, they will just jack it and increase it. So definitely the food prices, the percentage of consumer price index definitely is going to go high because of what, as a result of imported inflation again on a cost of production. That is what is happening.
Okay. So yes, I understand. Yes, this during our business transactions with these countries concerning the high cost of food items, yes, when we request for these food items, we pay in their own foreign currency, and at the moment it has also led to devaluing the naira. Yes, I'm aware of this, but can a situation arise by which we can also be paid, we can be paid in our own naira, in terms of, because I feel that will actually increase the spread of the naira in the economy actually, as opposed to always every time we want to do business with these people we have to pay in their own foreign currency. So when they're actually doing business with us, can't we be paid in naira? Like, for example, when we are exporting to them and they want to pay us for this service, can't we be paid in naira? Yeah, what are your thoughts on this, Mr. Dahiru?
Yes, our naira is highly volatile. When I say it's highly volatile, it's going up and down every now and then. So as a foreigner, if I bring anything, if you pay me with naira, before I even pack, I finish selling everything and pack and go home, and things can drop down. So I would prefer as a foreigner, if I wanted to sell to Nigerian, to do the transaction in a foreign currency, which is highly stable. But Nigerian currency is volatile because of the somersaulting of the government policy and our own peculiar challenges. That is what makes this all this thing to happen.
I understand, yes, in Naira is quite volatile, yes, and at the moment, yes, the Central Bank of Nigeria is putting in measures to actually curb this situation. But, okay, now going forward now, are there any domestic alternatives to food items that Nigerians can turn to due to this high cost of imported foods right now?
Yes, of course. Anything that you see, like I don't know for other countries, like here in Kano, the alternative to spaghetti is you can use your wheat and grind it very decent to do a local spaghetti. So that means anything that you see that we are importing in terms of what we can eat, you can turn it, you can put value addition on it and use it. There's nothing will happen to you. And to me, this is a like me. I don't use a tomato that is foreign because I'm producing it. If I go to my own farm, I will just pack some small and bring house and make a soup. So everyone has to embrace what God has endowed with us, not relying or over relying on the foreign foods that some of the professional they say some of these preservative something may lead to cancer. Some other way, that's what some other are saying. But when anything having what could give us, let's appreciate it and use it. One day, one time, we'll come up to a better place.
You mentioned wheat. I'm quite sure you're aware that in the country, actually, we do produce wheat in Nigeria, but it's not in large quantities. And because of that, surprisingly enough, we are still importing wheat from Ukraine, which has been affected by the current war with Russia. And in spite of that, recently they even donated some wheat to Nigeria to help us with our current food crisis. So and as you also know, in the markets, actually, a colleague of mine also did this market survey on wheat. Most Nigerians prefer to buy the imported wheat to the locally made wheat we have in the country. So for something like wheat that we grow, I mean, it's not like because of climatic conditions we can't afford to grow it, but we grow it right here in Nigeria. Don't you think, and yet we're still importing, like what would you suggest to actually improve on the quality of wheat that is being grown and produced here in Nigeria, that most of us, we Nigerians, would prefer it to the imported wheat, actually?
Actually, we Nigeria, we don't appreciate what we have. This wheat, can't we use a cassava and do a bread? Mostly when we take the wheat, what are they going to produce? The final finished good from wheat. If you can still use cassava and do it, you can still use cassava and do it. So, and you can still use corn also and do what you wanted to do with this thing. So I don't say, but I know we have a deficit in the excess of what we consume and what we produce. Yes, our factory has to go and import those things, but our individual, we have to appreciate using locally produced foodstuffs. We have to appreciate using locally foodstuffs. That is, by that we can, as time goes on, we are good. We come to that place, because them, they didn't just come at a time and just find themselves with a good. So anytime you are producing something, every now and then you are specializing, so you will improving. So I think by that, when we are doing this, that's mean we are good to go.
There are people who actually prefer to take wheat because, like for example, a diabetic patient will prefer to take wheat than to take any cassava produce because of high sugar in things like cassava. So I think, yeah, cassava is really not a very good option for a diabetic patient. You actually suggested things like cassava bread, and I don't really think that's an ideal option.
I know it's not everybody is on diabetes, a diabetic patient, and we didn't say we will just ban it, but majorly any person that you are a diabetic patient, you can go for this. But what is making everything to go up is highly concentration. If we are in a population of 200 million in Nigeria, and everybody say he want to use wheat, that means the price is going to skyrocket. But once, if maybe 20%, we assume 20% to be a diabetic patient, they can go and use wheat. I'm not saying we should just discard it. No, we should just be at least apportion to some portion to diabetes patient, some portion to those normal people. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Dahiru, so okay, I would just like to ask you, what investment do you think can be made to improve on Nigeria's domestic food production and to also stop this reliance on importation of food importation? Actually, what would you suggest? What investments would you suggest, Mr. Dahiru?
Yes, the investment, the federal government and individual people, they have to massively invest. As a matter of fact, they have to declare state of emergency on agricultural and on agriculture. Everybody should go back to land. Everybody should go back to at least produce something, even if it is what you wanted to eat, maybe even for 3 months in a year. then the remaining month, 9 months, you will be buying something maybe from outside. Then as such, you will reduce the pressure in the market. So what you do, they are in agricultural product, when everyone invested in agriculture, when you invest in agriculture in terms of education, in terms of innovation, in terms of creating opportunity for even individual, as such, we are going to have, we are going to have a stability in food prices. If there is, all season farming, then the supply is going to be massive in the market. As such, the price is going to come down. So once we are producing in a high mechanized term, so everything is okay. But before this, we have to first address the insecurity, because the insecurity is first in first. You have to address the insecurity. Otherwise, what you are even producing now, you can never even produce it. And this is my stand on improving agriculture.
Okay, yes, we hear you loud and clear, Mr. Dahiru. Okay, just before you go, just before we say our buys, so how can the government, if you were actually in the position of government actually, how can the government encourage Nigerians to adopt more sustainable food consumption practices actually? Because this reliance on imported foods, yes, is going up, but we know, how can the government actually encourage us? We have also seen, I'm quite sure you've noticed it, that our leaders are actually more fond of using things that are imported, whether it's from our cars or clothes or even perfumes. They prefer to use imported items. So how can the government actually ensure that Nigerians consume things that are actually being made here actually?
Just by price. When the price of, maybe let me just give you an example, when the price of imported rice, maybe when they say that the bag is 100,000 and our local one maybe is 50,000, so if they will just the nature is, naturally you are forced to consume what you have. Maybe as a situation like that, if the local produced rice is maybe 50,000 or 40,000, won't you eat? You will take that one, because the imported one, it's a very high cost. It is highly at a high price. So definitely you are going to consume what you have. So if we invariably produce in abundance what we consume, so the price of what we consume, it naturally go down. So what they produce, that is why, even the government, they used to tax most of the things that they don't want to import it. They will just, put high tax on it, so that they will put the additional cost on it, so that the price will go high. So that definitely does mean the government is discouraging you from consuming, imported product. Then they will just put high tax, and they will just subsidize the one locally. They will subsidize it in terms of maybe when you are going to put the fertilizer, let that fertilizer be given at a subsidized rate. Subsidized rate. Let make provision of a storage facility when you produce your things, and you are having a maybe pre-store for government. It is a provision from the government. It's pre-store. Go and keep your own things. Anytime that things go high, then you bring that things and continue using it. So once you do this thing, definitely the price of what we are having locally then is going to go down, and what we are importing is going to be at a high price. So definitely with just prices, and everything is going to go cleared.
Thank you for that, Mr. Dahiru Ibrahim Kwaru, the Principal Manager for Investment at Kano State Investments and Properties Limited. Thank you for joining us on Market Insight this morning, and we look forward to having you on the show again. Do have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, so we're going to look at the parallel market rates and the official CBN rates for today, Thursday. So right now the dollar is actually selling at 1,520 naira in the official rates, and at the parallel market the dollar is selling for 1,610 naira, which is higher than the official CBN rate. And in the official CBN rates, the pound sterling is selling for 1,996 naira, and the parallel market is selling for 2,030 naira. That's quite high. And the euro, in the CBN rates for the euro is selling at 1,687 naira. At the parallel market, it's selling for 1,700 naira. So these are our foreign exchange rates this morning for Thursday, 7th of March. Okay, so that was our time this morning on Market Insights, where we talked about the high cost of imported food items. However, the past 4 years it has been increasing, and right now in 2024 it seems to be it's not relenting anytime soon. So we've discussed with our guests, and he also emphasized, like previous guests, how we should improve on our local food production, as this will help us to, once the naira is being circulated in the economy, we won't have to be depending on food importation all the time, especially on Western goods. Not like we should just cut it off completely, but this over-reliance on Western goods will not be there anymore. Okay, so I remain your host, Lovina Emma. Thank you for joining me this morning on Market Insight. Do stay tuned to the next program on Souk News. I beg your pardon.